What is going on, everyone? Misha Wilson here. Let me know what your name is and where you are coming in from. Today, I'm going to share with you the single most important business lesson I've ever learned. I know it's a bold promise, but I'm confident I can go ahead and share it. And it's a great question from a student here. So if you want to learn, again, the single thing that has allowed me to scale my business from 0 to 6 figures to multiple six figures to 7 figures, 7 figures to 7 figures in a single month, you'll want to go ahead and tune in to this entire Facebook Live. So let me know what your name is and where you're coming in from. And with that said, I'll go ahead and get the show on the road. Today's question is from Teresa. And Teresa, very bluntly, asked me, Misha, what's the most valuable business building lesson you've ever learned? And, there's so many different lessons out there. I kind of want to talk more on marketing specifically. There's a whole different world when it comes to business and then marketing. They're like two different, entities in themselves. But with that said, really what allowed me to grow the business, scale the business, do the things that we've been able to do is really learning marketing inside and out. And even in that context, there are so many different, options that I could go with when it comes to an answer. And give me a quick yes in the comments if you can hear me and see me. And looks like you can. There's so many different options I could go ahead and go with. Whether it be, to not be boring, whether it be to always be building your list, whether it be, the value of your customer acquisition process, having the correct customer acquisition process, all of those things would be good answers in of themselves. But I actually kind of took a little bit of time to really drill down on what I personally believe to be the single most valuable lesson that I've ever learned in my business. And before I learned this lesson, I was the guy out there trying to do everything I could do in order to get, a couple of people from Facebook to check out my website. I was the guy that was blogging every single day, writing piece of content after piece of content after piece of content with no one, reading, no one listening, or no one watching. I was the guy creating YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video, to try to get a little bit of traction, to try to go ahead and kind of pick up momentum in my business with nobody tuning in, with me getting 3 or 4 views, with me, just kind of constantly putting myself out there and never really understanding what I was doing wrong and never really getting traction in my business. So if you've been there, I completely and totally understand. And the most important lesson I ever learned, that when I learned, then when I took the time to actually master it, not master it, but, get as good as I could within this realm, is the transition from thinking about traffic to more of conversions. How can I build out my actual conversion machine, my conversion mechanism on the back end that will allow me to go out and spend $1 in advertising and then make $1.50 or $2 back? And it brings up a quote from Dan Kennedy. If you don't know who Dan Kennedy is, study him, follow him, go through everything he has. He's one of the best, sharpest, kind of godfather of actual direct response marketing. But it brings up a quote, and it is, the business that can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. And that's what your mindset needs to be, all right? The business that can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. And when I usually talk to people with their online businesses and I ask them, all right, how much do you have to pay to acquire a customer? How much on ads do you have to spend to go ahead and generate that new lead? People don't really know their metrics and people don't really know exactly where they're at. That's a different conversation for another day. But circling back on it, if you can figure out how to spend, $200 to go ahead and generate a customer when your competitor can only spend $100 to generate a customer, you have, a significant advantage that will allow you to scale that much more quickly. If you can outspend everybody else in your industry, if you can, have the ability to wait longer to make your money back than everybody else in the industry, you have a profound economic advantage in going ahead and building your business. And you have an advantage that isn't very hard to do or isn't very easy to duplicate, and people can't necessarily just go ahead and copy you, right? And it's, again, the advantage of being able to spend more to acquire that customer. Now, the way you get there, the path you take in order to get there, is focusing on optimizing your actual conversion process, all right? Focusing on optimizing first how you're generating leads, then how you're converting those leads into first initial sales, then those initial sales into repeat sales. It's about adding a higher ticket back end offer to give you more and more and more margin on the back end. It's about, again, maybe reselling to existing customers more than just always trying to create more and more and more customers. And in general, it's about spending more of your time on the actual, again, business building conversion side of the equation instead of the traffic generation portion of the equation. And it took me a little while to actually get the wisdom in that, saying the person who can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. But when I truly did, when I truly understood it, that's when I really turned everything around in my business. That's when I was able to go out. I created a funnel, and for the very first time, and not overnight, it took some refining, optimization, all that stuff. But after I had that aha moment, after I really got that lesson, I went out and created a funnel, and I optimized it, and I tweaked it, and I tested it, and I did all those things to get it performing the way it needed to perform. And I got it to a point where I could spend $1 in order to make back $1.50 very regularly. And that allowed me to go spend money on advertising to build my email list. Then I could build my email list. Then I had some leverage because I could send an email out and I could make money. Then I continued to optimize it, and I went from $1.50 to $2. Then I could spend $1 to make back $2 on the back end while going ahead and building my list at the same time. What did I do? I took those $2, I reinvested it back into more advertising, continued to scale, and I continued to figure out more and more and more ways I could make it, be from spending $1 to making $2, then spending $1 to making $2.50, then spending $1 to making $3, and then I took all that money that I was earning on the back end, that margin, I sunk it back into more and more traffic, and then as a result, again, I kept continuing to scale my business. And to this day, the thing that I focus on most, now, I have a team to manage, we have the company to manage, I have to manage all the different business portions of the equation. I need to make sure the team's at standards. I need to make sure our customer support's in line, all that kind of stuff. And I have awesome managers that help me out with that as well. It by no stretch of the imagination is a one-man show, right? So there's a lot going on. But whenever I actually get out of the operations of the business, whenever I get out of the making sure, that we're maintaining everything correctly, whenever I get out of that mode, the first thing I focus on and the most important thing I focus on is how we might optimize our overall sales process, how we might increase the value of every single customer, how we might, make it, move the needle a little bit from having every single customer be worth, let's say, $400 up to $450. Because I know that if I can spend an extra $50 to acquire a customer, I can then spend that much more on all my different advertising campaigns. And when I can spend more on my advertising campaigns than the next guy who's competing with me, guess who wins? I get more customers more quickly. I can reinvest that money more quickly. I can scale more quickly. I can continue to grow. And again, the person who can spend the most to acquire a customer always wins. So remember, your customer is your single most valuable asset. Your list is extremely valuable, but your customer list is your truly single most valuable asset, along with your actual intellectual property, your skill sets, your knowledge, all that stuff that you have up here. Those are your two most valuable assets. And if you can spend more than everybody else out there, you don't have to create a ton of YouTube videos trying to get free traffic. You don't need to blog every single day trying to, hope that someone hears you, hope that someone happens to stumble upon your blog and find your blog just out of, divine intervention. You don't need to hope that, again, you have to spend less to acquire a customer. You don't need to worry about only being able to generate leads for $1 or under. If you spend up to $2, that's totally fine, because on the back end you're going to make it back. It gives you room for error, and that's another reason why I chose this as really kind of being the single most important lesson, because when you dial this in, you can get so many things wrong. You can get so many things, you can learn so many things the hard way, if you will. But when you do, again, you have that room for error, you have that margin, you have that mistake that you're willing to make or are able to make and still survive, because again, you focused your energy on being able to spend $1 and then make as much back as humanly possible, spending the most to acquire a customer. Again, the ultimate unfair advantage in business. So give me some likes, comments, hearts, shares, all that jazz. If you guys got value, that's my message for you here today. I know it can be one of those things where it takes a little while to wrap your head around, and sometimes you don't necessarily, again, fully get it immediately. because it's one of those things where you'd rather focus on traffic or blogging or whatever that thing is that seems really cool in front of you right now. But if you truly just understand the value of dialing in your customer acquisition process, your sales funnels, your conversions, all that stuff on the back end, and you focus on being able to spend the most to acquire a customer humanly possible, long term, that asset, being able to spend more than the next person, is what will allow you to dominate within your industry. So that's my message for you here today. Give me some likes, comments, hearts, shares. Great question. Hope you guys got a ton of value. And if you'd like your question answered by myself, head over to mishawilson.com or click a link probably below this video once it's on the blog. Get your question in, and I look forward to answering it. All right, guys, till next time, over and out.